Thank you for joining the Doctor Whisperer. I am your host, Sharon Feckety, and I am happy to bring you a show where we talk about the business of medicine. I hope that you enjoy it. Please feel free to share, subscribe, and pass it on. Enjoy the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm very happy to have Dr. Janet Williams here with us today. She is a licensed physician and surgeon practicing in LA, California, which is sunny from what I understand. And before we dive in, I just want to say hello and welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Good Groove Group Incorporated, which you'll all see in the show notes. We're going to have a little conversation about the business of medicine and then maybe why you don't like sex anymore, ladies. So let's get it started. So I always like to know the backstory before I dive into anything. Like, you are a licensed physician and surgeon, like, hello, and you are a woman. And I love that more than life itself, right? So what led you to choose this profession? Let's start there.
Well, I actually come from a medical background, and my dad is a physician and my mom is a nurse. I actually, when I went into medical school, I was thinking that I was going to be an ear, nose, and throat surgeon. I don't know why. I thought that was going to be my calling. And I got into it, and that wasn't for me.
You made a big jump.
I know. Yeah, I was trying to decide between general surgery and family medicine. And I feel like OBGYN was somewhere in the middle because there was a surgical aspect of things as well as, the regular day-to-day care and, care for women. When I did my first delivery, I cried, I wept. It was just beautiful. It's like sort of a spiritual experience. And that's, how I ended up where I am.
I love it. So you have worked in like many of the OBGYN docs that I've worked with in the past. And I have one who I adore. She's actually the only physician that I do see regularly, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but at least I have one. I feel a very close connection to her. And my mom had breast cancer. So I feel like it's so important that we just keep up with our health. And I know that you have made a nice little jump. And since this show is about the business of medicine, I'd like to touch on that a little bit first and then segue into how you are helping. So, I'm just going to share something with you because it's coming to my mind.
Yeah.
I was on my walk run this morning and I was listening to Brene Brown.
Yes.
And I'm loving everything that she shares. And I can't wait to watch this new show she was recommending. And I thought, I really need to watch that How Stella Got Her Groove Back.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that movie?
Of course, yes.
Like, I have watched that movie like 95 times, but I haven't in so many years. And I felt when I was reading this, it was almost like this, I don't know, universal meant to be kind of, that's what you help women do.
Yeah.
Get their groove back, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. So tell me that moment when you decided that you were going to break out of what you've been doing every day for a long time and start your own business.
Well, I don't know that it was a one moment. It took some time to actually come to the realization that I needed to make a change, and then some additional time to make the change. Because, especially when you're so ingrained, you've been in school for 12 to 20 years, essentially, right, getting to where you are, building and establishing a career and a place for yourself in your workspace. And so it takes a lot of, removing yourself from that. But it was multiple things. So from the standpoint of actually being a woman and going through some of my own challenges, I had some issues with infertility, and I was like in this kind of toxic culture that didn't even allow me to take care of myself. I remember being on call. It's like, 10 o'clock, 10 p.m., I'm in the call room, I'm injecting myself with fertility hormones, and then I'm going to take care of somebody else. Like, it's just this culture that doesn't really allow you to care for yourself. You're doing 24-hour shifts, and the cortisol and the weight gain, and just all of those things where I wasn't able to actually care for myself. It's just something that I'm doing every day for women. I'm trying to help them do that for themselves, and I can't even do it for my own self. So from a personal standpoint, it was something that needed to change. And then from a professional standpoint, just the rigors of corporate medicine, you're a part of a cog in the wheel, and you're not really able to do what you came to do. Like, I became a OBGYN because I enjoy that interaction, that connection with my patients, and helping them to transition from an unhealthy state or some sort of state of imbalance and getting them to a good place. And, sometimes, and I talk about this in my book, sometimes I would have 2 or 3 patients booked in the same time slot. Like, they're setting you up for failure. Like, you're being set up for failure. There's no way that you can do a great job if all 3 of those patients show up at the same time. You have women that are pissed, like they've waited,
yes,
for like
that's exactly right.
Their appointment, and then you have like 5 minutes to take care of all the issues they've been dealing with for the last 6 months. It's just, and those are the reasons that, like, I said, you know what, this is not compatible, it's not sustainable. And it's not my colleagues. Like, I love my colleagues, the people I work with, they're like diehards. Everybody wants to do the right thing. But it's really a systemic issue, higher up, where it's kind of out of our control. And so I made the decision. It's a little scary, very scary, actually, to step out like that. But I'm happy I did it.
Yes, thank God you did. I always call that stepping out in faith. And I remember doing that for myself, and it's almost 10 years later, because it's very comfortable to work in a space where, although it might not be what you envisioned, you know what you're getting every day, you know the salary you're making. And it really is, it's a bold decision. It's a bold decision. So bravo to you. And I love that you shared about that personal experience. It's something that I talk a lot with my doctors that are really trying to help heal others, but have a very hard time trying to heal themselves because there's just no time or space for it. So all right. So now you are really, really in it when it comes to sexual health. And I love that, because I just don't think enough women, enough doctors like yourself are just talking about how it's almost like taboo. Like, we're not supposed to say these things. And Dr. Williams will put we have in the show notes about a free copy of your book that you have offered to the audience, which is Why Don't I Like Sex Anymore? .com. So we're going to offer that to everybody. But why this? Why now? What was happening? Was it because of the patients? Was it something personal that led you to that?
Yeah, I think really because of the patients. In residency training, we learn a lot of stuff. We learn about how to take care of bleeding problems, hormones, pregnancy, complicated pregnancies, the list goes on. We can do a hysterectomy. We can do a circumcision with our eyes closed. Right. A lot of us, not everyone's trained in that, but we can do all of these things. And yet I was having patients come in. I'm a board certified OBGYN, fellow of the American Board of Obstetrics and Gynecology. And I have patients coming in, saying, hey, my libido is gone. What do I do? Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. And so I would ask, and this is all women of all ages, 30s, their 40s, and predominantly in their perimenopausal period in 40s and 50s, but all ages coming in with this question, and I had no answers for them. I would ask my more seasoned colleagues, I say, hey, what do we do? And weren't really good answers. And so that was kind of the starting point. I did a lot of research, and there's a lot more now in the way of sexual medicine that's available. There's more research that's being done, but up until recently, there just wasn't much at all. And so that's, where this was born.
I love it. I just turned 50.
Mm-hmm.
And that conversation of perimenopause has come up many, many times. And I went to see my friend doctor clients that offer, bioidentical hormones. And we did some blood work, and it's not time for me yet, but I know it's coming. And I know right now I feel good, but there are so many women. My best friend is a nurse practitioner, OBGYN nurse practitioner in New York, and she's breaking out, opening up her own space as well, because, you mentioned this before we hit record, there's really just not enough time in your schedule built in to have that conversation. So now what does it look like with, you have an intimate life coach at goodgroove.com. You're the founder of intimatewellnessshop.com. So tell us a little bit about both of those. What does that look like for women that are desiring to learn more?
Right. Well, I think you can kind of do it in two ways. So you can kind of do it yourself route, which is where you get, information from, webinars or blog articles, and then use some of the things in corporation with your, in connection, with your doctor, right? So you can do some of the things on the outside. On Intimate Wellness Shop, we have a wide range of products that are non-pharmaceutical products, to use to help support, hygiene, as well as, some of the sexual wellness items, from everything from toys to aphrodisiacs to stimulants and moisturizers. All of these things are not necessarily everyone's going to need them, but everyone is different, and sex is so multifactorial. There may be one thing that somebody's having a problem with, that they need a particular solution for, whereas another person needs something else. So it's a wide range of options there that all doctor curated for use. And then as far as the coaching program goes, it's what I'm currently doing right now is one-on-one coaching, and it's so wonderful. I just did a kickoff call with a new client yesterday, and it really allows us to spend the time together. And help to explain and help to bring understanding so that she can now go and have the pleasure that she deserves. I equipped my clients with the tools, with the knowledge. We are able to set goals and then kind of figure out what is needed to get to those goals. We talk about communication with the partner so that you can now relay to your partner how we can get to these goals.
Yeah.
So it's really a great experience, and we spend time. Most of the time, my clients work with me for at least 3 months, and we see a lot of transformation. It's really wonderful, and it's fun, So it's a good time.
Are you still running your medical practice like it's 1990? Well, what about Riva Global Medical Virtual Assistants? A medical virtual assistant, I promise you, is the way to run your medical practice today. Why? Because you can save, thousands of dollars. No more paying for health insurance, no more worrying about office space. You also have trained professionals. These wonderful human beings get trained, and they have a client service manager that makes sure that your VA that you're working with for your practice is hitting all the goals that you need to make sure that your practice is run efficiently and friendly. Check out Riva Global Medical Virtual Assistants today. We interrupt this awesome podcast to share with you about our sponsor, TIE Technology. TIE Technology was founded with the thought that every customer deserves exceptional customer services. So if you know of any company that has a phone system where the auto attendant doesn't really sound good, you press 1 and you think you're going to go to a live person, but you end up with a broken recording, it's probably time that you call TIE Technology. And if you mention this podcast, you will get the first 3 months for free. So make sure you mention the Dr. Whisperer podcast show. Check them out. Yeah. Did you find that a lot of women have a hard time taking in what you're saying and then verbalizing it to their partners?
I think that a lot of women just don't know. They just don't know what they need to verbalize to their partner. There's a lot of aha moments that happen. And then they've just never had anyone sit down with them. Like, maybe you get a talk with your mom, like when you're 13, you know what I mean? That says, okay, this is how you put a pad on and don't do it with boys. But outside of that, we really don't have any education about pleasure, about what's going on with the body, the anatomy, and how all of those things, come together. There's so much shame that surrounds something that is very natural, that a lot of my clients, when they come to me, it's like a relief almost, because now you have someone who knows what they're talking about from a medical standpoint. It's not just some random stuff, but at the same time, we're focused in on your pleasure, and we're focused in on how to improve your life and how to navigate changes that are happening in your body. So
yeah, we all should be orgasming.
Yes, please. Yes. Yeah. I mean, and that's a whole nother thing, the orgasm gap, where, in heterosexual couples, women are not orgasming on a regular basis. It's 50 to 60%, somewhere in that area, where people are women are not, getting the equal orgasm pleasure. So there needs to be education for women and men, and or anyone who has a female partner. We need that.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
I feel very blessed. I had definitely been in relationships before I met my husband where I did not feel fulfilled or satisfied. And I don't think I even had enough self-esteem at the time to verbalize that. I think it was, I think I struggled with that. That maybe I'm not supposed to, I'm just supposed to please my partner all the time. Yeah. And until I really, fell in love and thankfully have a healthy, wonderful sex life. My husband, of course, is not as open as I am. But my best friend is a nurse practitioner in an OBGYN practice, in which she's been saying, she has a pin that says, I love vagina,
I love it.
Right. But that's how, and that really taught me. And I think that there's so many different cultures out there that almost repress, we're not supposed to talk about this. We're not supposed to, ask about orgasming and it's really so normal. Sex should not be so taboo.
Well, yeah, I talk about this in my book as well. When we go to the doctor, if you break your finger, right? You go to the doctor and you say, hey, doc, my finger's broken. I fell down, hit it, whatever. The doctor's like, okay, there's no shame around that. If you go in with your finger, okay, we're going to take a look at your finger. When it comes to sex and our genitals, it's just this weird shame thing that we have to deal with. I can't tell you how many, every week, at least 2 or 3 times a week, I'll see a patient and they'll be like, I'm so sorry, I didn't shave my legs. I'm not shaved. I'm I don't care. That's your body. Your body grows hair. It's supposed to grow hair, whether you shave it or not. That's up to you. It's not a shameful thing. Let's do your pap smear, or whatever it is. We shouldn't have to have this shame around our bodies in this particular place for some strange reason, I mean, we can go into the reasons, patriarchy, et cetera, but we won't go there right now, but
maybe another episode we could do that, because that would be a long one. I do think that I'm Irish. I come from an Irish family. My mom had 12 brothers growing up, so there weren't a lot of girls hanging around for my mom to even understand how to pass that on to me.
Right.
I can see that now as a 50-year-old woman, but I certainly wasn't having the strong conversations that, my other friends were having with their families. There was no talk of sexual health or gaining pleasure and making sure that you have that with your partner, you know, so I think it's so important. Let's talk about, so it says you help women over 40 conquer the physical and emotional changes that often come with age, treasure their natural magnificence, and enjoy phenomenal, confident pleasure.
Yeah.
I think that we really need to, I would like for you to speak about how important it is that these are wonderful, natural, magnificent women out there, that they deserve to have this pleasure.
Yeah, well, it's really a shift that needs to take place because we're so a lot of times, especially at that age, you're dealing with caring for other people, you know, and a lot of us don't have this self-care, and we've got such shame around being women. Like before we even get into sex and sexuality, like there's shame about being a woman. We're like, you know, you have to like care for your partner. You're responsible for your kids. You know, if you're a working mom or a working woman, you know, you're responsible for your career and all of the advances that we're making. And a lot of times we just don't take that time to give ourselves the self-care, to be in our bodies, like to be present in our bodies. You know, I talk about exercise and, you know, people jumping on a Peloton and zoning out, you know, like you zone out, you get on there, you're 40 minutes, but you're not present, you're not here, you're not grounded. And that grounding, that presence is what I'm talking about. And that's where the self-love grows from. And then when you make that connection with yourself, and it's almost a spiritual thing where you're like in tune, that's when the pleasure thing, it turns on, and then you begin to advocate for yourself. You begin to understand your body, and then you're able to say, hey, this is what I like. This is me. And you can, and it kind of glows, you know, it glows from people once they make that switch and they turn it on. And you're able to then enter any partnership with more connection and more centeredness. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. I am so with you on that. I really am. And I feel, as I've mentioned, you know, very blessed that I'm in a good situation, because I know so many women are not, and not even that they're not in a good situation, but they're not speaking up for themselves and what they deserve and what they desire. And there's nothing wrong with, hey, maybe I thought Stella Get Your Groove Back was because it's called Good Groove Group Incorporated. Like there's a little something to that right there. Dr. Williams, if you were to encounter a female physician today that was thinking about taking that bold move like you did and dip your toe into creating a world in a practice that would better serve her needs, while, you know, we actually have limited time on this earth, what would you say? What has been helpful for you, and what could you pass on to somebody else?
Well, okay, so a couple of things. One is, as strange as it may sound, like I had a little bit of imposter syndrome, where I thought, like, who do I think I am going out of the, you know, norm to do this thing? Like this, I'm not certified to do this, but the reality is that we're all certified to do us, you know? So whoever you are, like you're the most certified person in the world to do that. Like, especially with type A, you know, we're very education oriented, like physicians. It's like, oh, I got to take this course, I got to do this thing. But, you know, the reality is like, I've been doing this for 15, 20 years, you know, like I know what I'm doing, you know, like, and I know who I am, and no one else can do what I do in the way that I do it. And so, and there's room for everybody. How many billions of us are there on the planet? There's like 7 billion people on the planet. Like, someone needs what you have to give, you know what I mean? And everyone's a little bit different. Like not every person is going to be my client, like, and that's okay. I don't need every client. I just need a handful. And I'll be able to give them what they need because I'm me, you know? So that's one thing that I want to say. I have a good colleague of mine who's considering, making a switch too. And it was so, it was hurtful to me because she said, well, not hurtful, but like, it was sad to me because she said, I feel like a failure. And I'm like, girl, you're the opposite of a failure. You're a freaking doctor. She's a mom that takes care of her kids. Like I don't know how she was doing this. She's like homeschooling her kids and just kick-ass surgeon. And somehow the toxic environment that she was in was making her feel like a failure. And I was like, you are not a failure, So I just, want people to, doctors that are considering this, like to realize you're already not a failure. If somebody's talking to you about resilience, that's something that our corporation was always talking to us about, resilience and how to like improve your resilience. I'm like, that's bullshit. Like we're already resilient. Like,
yes,
we've made it through medical school. You've been through a residency training and however long you've been working. Like, when bad things happen, it's like there's that second victim, and we pull ourselves up from the bootstraps. And those things are traumatic as a physician when you see something bad happen to your patient, which sometimes it does. Like all of those things are signs of resilience. Like you can do it. Like if you need to leave your toxic situation, leave your toxic situation. You may have to figure out a plan. Like it took me probably about 2 years before I actually was able to step out the door and say I'm out. But it's possible. That's all I have to say.
It is possible. And I have heard this story too many times from too many. I always tell my doctors, you know what? If I was a doctor, I'd have that shit tattooed right across my forehead.
Yes.
What? And then a surgeon? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Come on, man.
Come on. Like what you have all gone through just to get through medical school. Yeah. And I mean, it's incredible. And then to be moms and like cook and take care. And I have never met more incredible physicians than I have with the female physicians, really and truly. And I think that the more they hear women like you who have stepped out and created something that is scary and it is hard and it doesn't happen overnight, we need other women around us to tell each other that it's possible. And I'm grateful that you are able to share that message today. So everybody check out the show notes. Please follow Dr. Janet Williams. She is, of course, on social media at Intimate Wellness Shop and Good Groove Company. So please follow and listen. If you're in California, then you're lucky. I'm sure you're doing some type of telehealth.
I'm actually not doing any like telehealth with my own practice. I work per diem for a couple companies just to keep my surgical skills up and my medical skills up. So if you're in any of those networks, which I can't really mention, but you could probably Google me and find where I am if you're in California and want to see me as a patient. But if you're interested in the coaching programs, which are probably the best use of our interaction, you can go to goodgroove.com and get a discovery call there.
Yes. And you will be excited because I saw how excited you were talking about that last discovery call you did. It's fantastic. Thank you for all you do to help others, especially women. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody. So if you want to party like it's 1999, but run your medical practice like it's 2022, don't forget to check out Reva Global Medical Virtual Assistants. So don't forget, if you mention that you've seen the show or listened to it on the podcast, mention Thai Technology and you will get 3 months for free.